Hello and happy St. Patrick's Day. It's Tuesday, March 17th, 2020, and this is my first St. Patrick's Day in Ireland. And it's a somber one in the midst of this coronavirus nonsense. All of the St. Patrick's Day parades and festivals all across the country were canceled because of the threat of the virus and all of this. So, there was that. But I'm in Ireland, and I celebrate that every day. So I just wanted to reflect a little bit today about what it means to me to be Irish. I was always aware growing up that my grandmother was born here in Ireland. Both my maternal grandparents were, and my paternal grandfather, John Clayton, was born here as well. So we were always proud to be Irish Americans. My parents were first generation Irish Americans. We were the second. And we celebrated that. We were proud and all, but we didn't keep a lot of Irish traditions the way some Irish Americans did, with joining sodalities and step dancing and all kinds of things, But I was very aware of my Irish heritage growing up, so that when it was an Irish teacher colleague of mine when I was working in Istanbul, Sharon. She told me that that I could obtain Irish citizenship by descent because my grandmother had been born in County Monaghan, in the Republic of Ireland, near the border. So I researched the process of, I had to establish a documented connection between myself and my grandmother. Well, I never met her. She died long before I was born, before my mother was even married. But I knew that she had died in the Chicago area, in Chicago, and I had a copy of her death certificate, so I could kind of work my way back, I learned where she met my grandfather in Ontario, Canada, met and married him, and I wrote to the Canadian Archives Office and obtained a copy of their marriage license, but I didn't know where she was born. So I remember finding a census document from, I don't know, around the turn of the 20th century, around 1900 or so. And they were already living in Roseland on the south side of Chicago, where she, bore most of her children. And on that census document, which is available still on the internet, her name was Susan Traynor Dosical. Her maiden name was Traynor, from the County Monaghan, in the townland called Mullinderg. And on that census form, she put that she was born in Northern Ireland. Well, I guess it was at the time of, she was born in 1872, I think, There was no Republic of Ireland until 1922. The borders had changed during the Irish Civil War and all, but she was in fact born in what is now and remains Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. So I put that information up and out on one of these genealogical websites. This was, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. And I remember somebody, a volunteer who lived in Salt Lake City, contacted me and said, oh, I'll go to the library of the Church of Latter-day Saints, because, you know, the Mormons believe that everyone in the world is descended from Adam and Eve. I mean, that's part of their religious dogma, I guess. So, and that's why genealogy is so important to the Mormons and all. So he went to the library archives in Salt Lake City. I had given him all of the information that I had about my grandmother, her name and her date of birth, and the name of that townland, Muhlenberg. Well, he discovered and sent to me a copy of her birth certificate, or baptism certificate, I think it was. And also the fact that she had 2 sisters and a brother, which I never remember hearing about that growing up. I'm not even sure if my mother knew about that or not. Anyway, so I contacted the Irish National Archives and obtained an official copy of her birth certificate, and I had her marriage certificate, her death certificate, my mother's birth, marriage, and death certificate, my birth certificate, and took all of those documents to the Irish Embassy in Chicago and made my application for Irish citizenship and applied for a passport. It took about 2 years and a couple of $100, and all. It was the best investment I ever made, because it opened up all of Europe for employment for me as an Irish citizen. It was just much easier to work as a teacher here throughout Europe as a citizen of the Republic of Ireland, you know. So, and that's how I remain today. I'm Irish officially. So that's the story of my Irishness. Happy St. Patrick's Day.